So today we're going to be developing our personal AI sales strategist. We're going to feed it an order, we're going to feed it some line items, and we're going to get it to generate a sales strategy based on a sales strategy that we choose. Upselling, downselling, cross-selling, and so forth. Oh, by the way, hi, if you're new here, my name is Alex, and here on this channel, we talk about AI, automation, and really anything and everything in between. Let's get started. So if you've been following the channel for a while, by now you probably know how this works. First, we're going to do a quick demo of how the whole thing works. Then I'm going to take you through the design of the database, although there's not much really in this particular instance. And then finally, we're going to take a look at how the automation is set up. So stick around if you really want to learn more about how to do this yourself. It's really super straightforward. It'll take you like 5 minutes. What we have in front of us is the database. What I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the sales strategy that I want to apply to this particular quote that I'm working on. Let's say I want to downsell this client. As soon as I choose the strategy that I want to do, I immediately choose the generates AI sales strategy. The process is now starting up, and after a few seconds, we should have a nice little set of bullet points with the strategy itself. There we go. So align purchases with MOQs, optimize pricing strategy. Basically, it's just a bunch of interesting specific tips on how to downsell this specific client for the specific order. Now, there is also an advanced mode. So the advanced mode really is always trying to upsell a client in any particular way by either means of cross-selling or, it just goes a little bit bananas and it gives us a little bit more data. So I'm going to enable advanced mode and check the generate AI sales strategy button. Starting up again. And here we go. We have a lot more on our plate. The strategy is to implement a bulk purchase discount strategy for quantities exceeding the MOQ. So AI is basically suggesting to get the client to buy more instead of the original quantity of 50 to, well, actually the original quantity is 75. But anyway, the suggested quantity is 100, offering a slight discount for purchasing. Basically, it's just trying to tell you that, look, double the MOQ, upsell, but offer a slight discount. Also, we have the original cost, and based on the AI strategy, it's giving you like a final price. And as you can see, the margins are also slightly lower because it tells you that, hey, just give them a small discount. Now, of course, this can be made a little bit better, but the general idea is that you can use this approach for more complicated orders where you might have products that are bundles in themselves. So in general, this approach can be made way more interesting than what I'm showing you now, but hopefully you get the idea. So without any further ado, let's take a look at how I've constructed this very simple database. And then we're going to jump into automations. All right, so the database is actually set up in a very simple, basic way. We have a list of products. So we have a table for products where I have name, price per item, cost per item, MOQ, and also we have the quote line items. Basically, because when a product gets involved in a line item, you're linking that product from the products table. Then we have quotes. We have just a very basic quote name, link to quote line items, of course. And then we have our trigger kicking off the process that generates the strategy. We have our on-off button for the advanced mode feature. We have our sales strategy to apply. Again, just a basic multi-select. And then a long text field for the AI sales strategy. Finally, last but not least, we have our quote line items where we have just a concatenated field in the label in the leftmost field where I'm just concatenating product X quantity. Then I have my link back to my quote, my link back to my product, and then of course the quantity of how much the client is basically ordering or we're quoting for. And that is basically it. No other fields, no other tables, very straightforward. First and foremost, let's talk about triggering this automation. If you watched any of my videos, you know how this works. We go into automations, we create a new automation. We typically use when a record matches conditions, and in this case, in the quotes table, the condition is that generate AI strategy is checked. Then we run our favorite script to push a webhook payload to make. So the script looks something like this. The only thing that you need to change is this particular part. Don't use my webhook, use the one that make is going to generate for you. Finally, last but not least, don't forget to map an input variable. So you have to add record ID just like I've spelled it right here in the name field. And then don't forget to map the value of the Airtable record ID and the value field just by pressing this blue button and just mapping this particular variable over here. That's it. Once you're done, press finish editing and turn on the automation. You've now successfully figured out what to do with your trigger. It's time to deal with make itself. This is the make scenario that I've developed for this. Very straightforward. We've done a lot worse in the past. So let me just take you through what's going on very quickly. So our initial trigger comes up and works from this particular end. Then we have our get quote where we basically fetch that quote. We then print like a little starting up message that you've probably noticed. And then we iterate through the line items. We get each individual line item. We get the product from that line item. We package up all of that information into one single string, into one single text. Then we actually get all the products from our products table and we package that up as well, because if you have multiple products, you want to make sure that AI knows exactly what other products you have in case it wants to cross-sell or do some kind of interesting little bundle. You get the point. From there, I have my two strategies. I've got my advanced AI strategy and my simple strategy. Both of them are based on that little switch. That's why you can see that there's like two paths. Let me take you through each individual module so you know how to do this yourself. I'm also going to include a link down below for this particular scenario, so feel free to check that out. Of course, we begin with our webhook. This is the little link that you need to paste inside of that automation that I was just showing you earlier into this script. Make sure that you copy this and you paste it in there just like I have. From there, the next step is to actually fetch the quote. So as soon as we get the payload from module number 1, we need to map it into the record ID over here, just like so. From there, we need to create an update, a record module based on that record, of course. All I'm really doing is just printing this little message, starting up, and I'm just formatting the now date into something a little bit nicer to the eye. If you leave it as now without using format date, yeah, you're not gonna have a great time. It's gonna look a little bit funky. So that's it. That's all we do here. Next step is to iterate through the line items. So I'm mapping the line items array from module number 2 into this iterator, and then I'm getting each line item one by one. As soon as I get that, then I'm actually using the information from module number 4 and then mapping the first item from the array, from that product array that you get in each line item. Remember, there is a link in there. As soon as that's done, then I'm finally packaging all of this up into a text aggregator. My source module is, of course, module number 3, my iterator. My row separator is a new row. And then I'm basically structuring my text in this format like I've done below. Item, and then the name of that item, the price per item, and then the price of that item. All of this data is actually coming from the get product record. So we're basically creating a list of products and their attributes side by side. The next thing is to kind of like repeat ourselves, only that we're not getting the products from that particular order. We're actually getting the products from our whole catalog. So here, yeah, I'm just creating a search records module and I'm looking up all the products, all the data in the products table. I don't have any formulas. I don't have any limits. You can, of course, limit this yourself. You can put any kind of filter you want, but I'm not filtering anything. And again, I'm just packaging it up in a very similar manner. Product name, price per item, cost per item, MOQ rules from supplier. That's it. And of course, the row separator is a new row. So those two aggregators basically create these kinds of little bundles. Of course, if I had more items, you would see more. And yeah, that would make a lot more sense. But right now, I just have one item to play with, and that's that. Then I have a router. So here I have two choices. You see where this is going. Advanced mode is true, or advanced mode does not even exist. If advanced mode is true, this is what my prompt looks like in order to achieve that long advanced explanation about, upselling the client in this particular case. I'm using a create a chat completion module from OpenAI, so feel free to use that. Then I'm using the latest GPT model that I can get my hands on. The system prompt goes something like this. We're telling AI that it's a savant sales manager with 30 years of experience and blah, 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 blah. And then we have the following. We have our quoted items, and this is where I map my text from module number 5, existing product catalog, all the products from our catalog from module number 9, those strings, right? Then we have our sales strategy to apply. Ooh, this should actually say, and you can see that I've actually used it with an if empty. So in other words, if I leave the sales strategy empty, it will use any sales technique that it wants. And then the strategy goes something like this, where I'm just telling it, to give us a short proposition on the course of action, the suggested quantities that it wants us to use, the reasons behind it, and a breakdown of margins, just like I've done here. Then, of course, I'm outlining the mission. I'm making sure that it doesn't suggest any free products. We don't want to give free stuff away. I don't want it to assume anything. I don't want it to think that we have certain products in our catalog that we don't have, and similar sort of things. Of course, at the very end, I'm adding my favorite little addition that I don't want it to add any conversational language, any comments or anything like that. The temperature that I'm using is 0.2. You can, of course, use a little bit more if you want to. Max tokens, feel free to use like 800 or something like that. I use 300, but I think you can use more. While we're on the topic of prompts, let me show you what I've done for the simple strategy. Simple strategy looks exactly the same. My only change is, of course, the fact that I've kept the proposition in place and made sure that we're now using like a bullet point format with 3 bullet points maximum. Everything else is basically the same, as you can tell. Temperature a little higher. You can play with this and see what you get. Finally, all I have to do at the very end is just print that strategy, that content that I get from AI back into the AI strategy field, just like so. And the same thing goes for module 13. I'm just basically mapping the response back into Airtable so that it becomes useful to the sales guy who's looking at this point. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully this particular demo was very, very helpful to you. Now I have plans to do more content on AI and sales. So make sure you put your comments down below in terms of what you would like me to do. Any kind of interesting, fancy ideas are always welcome, and I try to answer each and every comment that I get. That's it from me. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.